Okay, so it just tells us that the recording's on. I'm going to change the view to speaker view because we want to see you, not me. So I've changed the view. So my
I've got
name
a message come up, Jake on free. Have I got to press that?
is, sorry.
This reunion is recorded by the host.
Yes, if you
I've got to
press that, yeah.
Right, okay, done that.
That's lovely. It's just it was just a notice for you that it was recording.
Right.
So I'm going to start the recording now, and my name is Anne Eatwell, and I am with Wally Brown, and we're talking today about Wally's experience of being at Godalming Grammar School. And today is Monday, the 10th of September, 2022. So, Wally, tell me, when were you at Godalming Grammar School?
I was there from September 1944 until July 1952.
1952. And you sent me your final report, written by, was that Mr. Wigfield?
That's right, yeah.
Yes. And he says that throughout your career at the school, it was distinguished by hard work, good conduct, and good sportsmanship. And then it goes on to detail all the exams that you passed, and that you won a choral clericship at Trinity College, Cambridge, and a county major scholarship. So both very impressive results. Now, I've got a list of questions for you. I always start with your family background so that people who are viewing this get some idea of what your who your family were and where you came from.
Yeah.
So who were your parents? What did they do and where did they live?
My father was a plumber. His name was Charles. And my mother was Rachel. She did not work except for odd things like a bit of domestic work, and she helped out serving in the shop as well.
And where did you live?
We lived in the Circle in Farncombe, near Godalming, which was on a council estate.
So you lived in a council house?
We did indeed.
Yes. And did you have brothers and sisters?
I had one brother, but slightly younger, yes.
And what was his name?
Robert.
Robert. And did he go to Godalming Grammar School?
No, he didn't, unfortunately. My recollection regarding him is that he went into Guildford Hospital for a tonsils operation when he was about 3 or 4. And when he came out, he was never the same boy.
Dear.
In fact, I did not recognize him when he came out of hospital.
Gosh.
And I think something went slightly wrong in the operation. My parents never discussed that with me, but that is my own personal conviction. He went to the ordinary secondary school in Meadrow in Godalming.
And what did he do when he left school?
When he left school, he started in the post office, but then he went into mainly a sawmill with Brandon fencing near in Peas Marsh. He didn't have a very happy life, unfortunately. I think.
And what was your home like? Describe your home.
Very simple, really. We did have a bathroom. We had a scullery, what called a scullery, a living room, and upstairs 2 bedrooms. We had a toilet that was just outside, as it were. You had to go outside the back door for the loo. That got changed eventually, but all the time I was there, that was what it was like. It struck me as an ordinary home, and I didn't know anything else, to be quite honest.
Yeah. And were your parents very strict?
Not very,
No.
fairly, I think.
Yeah.
Church, we were all churchgoers. We all sang in
Mm.
Farncombe Church Choir.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't have called them very strict.
No.
The only thing I remember being upset about was my dad wouldn't let me play football on a Sunday.
Ah.
And that's about the only thing I can
Yes.
recall he
Yeah.
ever really laying the law down about.
Yes. Yes. Was that because he wanted you to go to church and then read the
Oh,
Bible?
we did go to church.
Yeah.
We went to church 3 times a day, but
Oh goodness.
all on a Sunday
Yes.
afternoon
Yes.
was just not on the
And
program.
when you say go to church, were you C of E or were you Catholic?
TV, all
C of
TV.
E. Hmm. Hmm. Now, I wanted to know a little bit about your first school before Godalming Grammar School. Where did you go to school? What was it like? And did you enjoy your school? Were you good at your work? Did you have exams?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It
So,
was Farncombe Junior School. We went
yes,
to.
yes.
And it was a pretty good school, but the headmaster was a tartar. Oh, you only had to get out of line a bit, and you're on a black line outside his study for the cane. But the rest of the teachers were nice. In fact, some of them were still there when Doreen, my wife, went back as a
Mm.
teacher
Mm.
20 odd years later.
Yes.
I
So,
know I think it was a happy school. I was not unhappy there.
no.
Exams, I didn't seem to have any particular problem with. When I went to the grammar school, there were 14 of us, all went the same year.
Oh, from your school.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
which
that's
was quite a
interesting.
good result. I think it was a
Yes,
record.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So moving on to Godalming, so why did you go to this school? Was it the choice of your parents, or did the local authority assign you a place? What?
I think that was a natural thing to do. I don't know if
No.
you won a scholarship or pass the
Mhm.
exams.
That
You
was
went
the
to
that was the place
that's
to
where you
go.
went. And yeah, I
But
think so.
since it's interesting that because you're in Farncombe, you are between Godalming and Guildford. You could, in theory, have gone to some of the Guildford schools, couldn't you?
I've never heard that raised actually. No,
Mm.
no, I didn't know many people from Farncombe that went to Guildford.
Okay. You mostly you went to schools in Godalming or in other places.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
In fact, I can only recall one or two people
Mm.
went to Guildford Grammar School or
Right.
got Guildford County School for girls, was it? I think, yeah.
Yes, there were the two, weren't there? Yes.
Yeah,
And then there was Guildford High as well.
yeah,
Yes. Why? But you passed an exam to get to Godalming, did
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What was that called? That exam?
Well, I was
Did
just
it
trying
have
to
a
think.
special name or?
Um, I don't know. Was it
Mm.
called the Common Entrance Exam? Perhaps
Might
something
have
like
been.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, because when I was coming up for that, I think we had to pass something that was called the 11 plus.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Was that what you
yeah,
took, do you
indeed.
think?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Yes. Um, did you have to buy a special school uniform and what was it like?
Oh yes, special uniform. Yeah, it was all right. A green blazer with a
Mm.
school badge on it and a school
Yes.
cap. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
did you have to go to a special shop to buy it?
I think there may have been two in Godalming that
Yes.
sold the school
Sold it.
uniform.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, because I remember I had to go to a shop in
yeah,
Godalming to buy the
yeah.
uniform. Yeah.
I think Darkings was one, and I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of the
No,
other shop.
I can't remember. No.
No, there was no problem with that. I think.
You don't think your parents were worried because it was expensive, or you don't remember that?
I think. I don't think expense ever came up. No,
No.
I don't think
Okay.
so. No.
Hmm. And what did your parent, did you get the feeling your parents were quite proud of the fact that you,
Well, I'm sure they were, yeah.
yes,
I'm sure they
yeah,
were.
yeah, that you'd passed the exam and you'd got to the grammar school.
Yeah.
And what was your first impression of Godalming Grammar School?
Very impressed, to be quite honest. Yeah. I was very, very pleased to be able to go there. I think, yeah.
But physically, you know, when you were arriving there,
Yeah.
what did you think of the building and the grounds?
Well, I just thought it was all special. I was looking forward to my stay there. Really.
Yes, yes. And I suppose it was nice for you that there were people that you knew who'd gone from your school to Godalming. You already had, in a sense, a set of friends, didn't you?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you get to school?
By bus from Farncombe. Well, initially by bus to the bottom of Hollow Hill and walked up.
Walked up. Yes, that's what we did.
Eventually, I'd on a Saturday morning, I did the butcher's round,
Yes.
delivering meat, and I'd earned money, and I bought myself a rather nice bike. So when I got that, I got permission to ride the
cycle.
bike.
And when you say bike, you mean a cycle, not a motorbike?
Oh no, not a motorbike. No,
a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where did you store your bicycle when you got to school?
There were cycle racks under in the area just outside the toilets, the boys' toilets.
Did quite a few people cycle them?
Not too many, I don't
No.
think. No, you had to get permission. You couldn't just bring your bike to school.
No, because you had to have somewhere to put it.
Well, I suppose so as well. Yeah.
So, talking about friends, you had people you had boys that had come from your school, or was it girls as well?
Girls as well.
Girls as well. And did those people remain your friends, or did you make new friends when you were at Godalming?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously made new friends.
Yes.
I've still got the original newspaper cutting of the people that went.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. No, I don't know. Let me count. What was it? How many boys there were? It looks about mixed, about even
Yes.
Stevens, I think. Yeah.
And when you got there as a first year, how many forms were there for first years?
As far as I know, 3.
Oh, there were 3 in your day. Okay. Yes,
so.
we had 3.
1A, 2A, and 1A, B, and X, I think. Yeah.
A, B, and X. Okay. Because we had names. We were Jekyll, Fearon, and Page.
No, we just had letters. We just had letters. Yeah.
And
the top people went into A.
Yes.
And the middle people went into X. And maybe not so good went into B's. Yeah.
And where did you go?
X.
You were in X?
Initially, yeah.
Initially, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And what were your favourite subjects when you first started? What did you like?
Sport, I think.
Sport, okay.
No, I quite liked everything. I can't remember having problems with.
There was nothing you particularly disliked?
No, I don't think so.
And how many?
You just got on with it, as it were.
And how many pupils were there in each form, would you say?
I think if I remember right, maybe about 30, something like that.
That was the same. That was the same with us. So they hadn't changed very much.
No.
When we were at school, there was a lot of time given to sport. would you say that was the same for you?
I'm sure it was, yeah.
And which sports did you do you remember playing?
All of them. Apart from girls hockey and lacrosse. I played cricket, football, and
Rugby?
rugby initially, but
Yes.
they decided that the field was too hard and too stony. We
Oh,
used to, when I first went there,
yes.
in the winter terms, one was a football and one was a rugby.
Yeah.
But after a couple of years, I think it was, we played 2 seasons of football, gave up rugby.
And what about in the summer? Did you play tennis and
Not at
cricket
school, not at school. Cricket, yeah, and athletics. I was very,
and
very good runner.
athletics? Yeah.
Yeah.
But not tennis.
No, the boys didn't play tennis. No.
Oh, well, did you have tennis courts then?
There were tennis courts,
There
but the
were
boys
tennis
didn't
courts.
get on.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. I don't remember that being a division when I was there. And the other
There
thing,
were very few courts, actually. There was one hard court
yes,
and a 2 or 3 grass ones down
I
there where the orchard was, I think. Something like that.
I think that was the same for us. I don't think we had many courts, but I think we were all able to play.
No, the boys, as far as I know, didn't play tennis.
No. The other thing we had a tradition for was that at the end of the terms, the masters and sometimes the mistresses would play the school at games. So, there might be a hockey match between the boys and the masters, or a football match. Did you do that?
Yeah, we played cricket against the Masters, but I
Yes.
don't think we did anything else. They
Yeah.
didn't play football.
I think so. I think I'm
or
right in saying that, but
no,
it was the idea that different people would play. And I remember, I think the girls played against the boys in hockey, and we were horrified because they would just slam the hockey sticks, at us, and it was quite frightening.
no. I don't think we ever played the girls at anything. I can't remember that.
No.
I mean, the only thing was that at playtime or lunchtime,
Yes.
the girls and the boys often got together for a game of rounders or continuous cricket or something like
Oh, that's nice. That was nice. Yes. Yes. I don't think we did that. That sounds lovely. Yeah.
Well, and one of the questions you put on your thing was,
Yes.
were you all separated? And my impression was, no, we were completely integrated,
Yes.
boys and girls. There was nothing. The only separation was the changing rooms and the toilets,
Yeah.
and the meeting for prayers in the morning. The initial meeting. What do you call it?
Assembly.
Yeah,
Was
that was the
that
only time.
separate?
Sorry?
Did you say the assembly was separate?
Yeah, the girls were one side of the hall and the boys were the other.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Yes. No, when we did assembly, you did it by class. So, and the classes were mixed, of course. So you'd have the younger ones at the front, and then as you got older, you progressed to the back.
Oh, well, that was the same thing. But
yes,
as I say, the girls were on one side and the boys on the other.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes. No, I've never heard that. Yes. My next question was, were the boys and girls allowed to sit together in class and talk to each other in break times? And you've answered that.
Yeah, there was no question of being segregated, as far as I can recall. Particularly, often we had, when I was head boy later on in the school life, was that the master or mistress on duty, together with June Ward, who was the head girl, with me and we all had to just make a decision whether it was going to be a wet break and everybody stayed inside, or
yes. Something, because you were there from 44, something I wanted to ask you about was the school that came from London.
Yes.
Were they still there when you?
Yes.
Yes, they were. And
Yeah.
how were they? Were they segregated or were they integrated with you?
Oh no, segregated. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was that in terms of the different classrooms, or did they have a different part of
Well,
the building?
if I remember rightly, it was only a very relatively small group. I can only remember them using what was eventually the woodwork room. I can't
Oh,
remember them being
oh,
anywhere
okay.
else, actually.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm.
What was the name of the school? Can you remember?
Yeah, oh God.
No, I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll get it in a minute. Yeah.
I'll have to look it up.
St. George, St. John's, Sir Walter St.
That's
John's.
it. Well done. Yes, yes. Was it Battersea they came from, or
I'm not
something
sure
like
where they
that?
came
I think
from.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But wasn't there a very influential music master? Was he with them then?
Dr. Hunt. I don't
Yes,
know. I don't know. I didn't know he came down with them, but
he did.
oh,
Yes,
he did. Oh, well, you
yes,
know more than I did then. But he obviously stayed.
he did. Yes, and presumably you got to know him, did you?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Well, he was the one that put me in for the choral clerkship at Cambridge. Of course.
Did he? Did he?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we'll get on to that.
Oh, don't. It's a sad story.
Is it? Oh, well, I think we should still hear it. So I wanted to know what you think your parents and other people in the area thought of the school. Did they think it was a good school? What was the
Sure it is.
general opinion?
I've never heard any criticism of
Mm, no,
Godalming Grammar School.
no,
No, I've never heard any
no.
criticism.
So it was thought of as a good school.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, from what you remember. And who was the head teacher when you were there?
Mr. Wickfield all the time.
Hmm. And did you know him quite well by the end of your time there?
Oh, I did indeed. I was very close to him at the end. Yeah.
Yes. Well, tell me about him.
Well, he was very gentlemanly. He
Mhm.
took occasional classes like religious knowledge and current affairs.
Mhm.
Um, no,
Was he
wasn't
was
very
he
much. It just impressed me as a very kindly gentleman,
mm,
teacher.
he was he very strict or not?
I don't remember him being particularly strict.
No.
No, no. But I got to know him best when I was head boy at the
Well, of
time.
course, yes.
Yeah.
Why do you think you were picked to be head boy?
Well, I think it was a bit of a toss up between two of us because we were going into the third year six,
Mm.
and it was either me or my mate. Hmm.
So what do you think tipped it in your favor?
I don't really know. I
No,
can't say.
no. But do you think it was the choice of Mr. Wigfield?
I assume so. Yes.
Hmm.
Well, he may have consulted the
Hmm.
other members of staff, but I've no way of knowing what happened there.
Hmm. And
Suddenly, I received a letter
yes,
in the school holidays just before when we
yes.
went back to school to say that I'm appointing you as head boy. Yeah.
Ah. And were you pleased, excited,
I
worried?
was very proud, to be honest.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You weren't worried about the responsibilities or
No, but I must say that the things that were thrown at me the first
Mhm.
day
Yes,
did did get me worried and tensed up.
yes,
The
yes.
first, I think that would probably be the first time in my life that I ever had that experience, as it
Mm,
were.
mm.
That suddenly I had things to deal with that I hadn't had to do before.
But do you think you got enough, were there enough people giving you advice or help so that you weren't, you could fulfill
Well,
your duties?
let's say we got through it after a few days. It wasn't so bad.
Hmm. Well, what were the things then that were
But the
thrown?
main thing that I had to collate all the attendance figures and then we had to calculate the tables that had to be put up in the hall for lunch and take the figures to the cook. And
Oh
so
my
this,
goodness.
yeah, and it was
What a,
all of a sudden thrust on me. I
yes.
had no idea that
No.
I had to do that.
No, I'm amazed. That surely that's something that a teacher should have done.
Wow, very
Yes.
good.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get all those attendance figures? Did you have to
We
go
had to
round all
go
the
to the
classes?
school. No, got to, when they all got collated with the school secretary.
Oh, okay. So then you got the figures from her and took them to the cook. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you think, just to talk about the catering, where did you have lunch and how did
In
it
the big hall. We put up tables in the big hall.
that was the hall, the main hall where you had assembly
Yes. Yeah.
and sports, sometimes indoor sports.
Yes.
Yes, that was the same for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And where were the kitchens? Were
How
they
can I
next
describe?
door?
No, they were not.
No.
No. How can I describe? If you, well, really opposite the boys' toilets in
Yes.
that
Okay.
end of the school.
Yes, I remember them being at that end of the school. And what did you think of the catering?
I never found it any problem, to be quite honest. I'm pretty good at eating and whatnot. The only thing I can't eat is fish, but I never had any problem with school food.
Mm.
I don't remember anybody else. Somebody else must have had dietary problems, but I don't really recall much about that either.
I remember that we had quite a lot of, for puddings, we had a lot of those sort of sponge puddings,
Yeah.
including one called college pudding. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we used to have a thing with the breadcrumbs on the top, sort of a crusty top, as it were.
What was that? Was that a main course or a pudding?
No, that was a pudding.
Pudding. My favorite was bananas in custard.
No, I don't ever remember getting that,
Remember
but if
that?
you remember when it started, it was the war, we didn't have bananas.
Of course, yes, yes. So they must have had to work very hard to get meals on the table in those days, mustn't
I
they?
suppose they did.
And I suppose they were restricted by rationing.
Yeah, probably.
And in
Yeah.
fact, the rationing went on till about 1952, didn't it?
The
So
sweets it did, yeah.
yes, so in fact, your whole school career was covered by rationing in terms
Yes,
of food.
in some respects, yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the other teachers. Who do
Which
you remember?
all of them, I remember all of
Yes.
them,
Yes.
apart from one of. I did send you a list, didn't I, of the teachers? I think I did.
Well, I
Wait a
don't
minute,
think I got
somewhere
that.
I have got.
Maybe you. It's possible you sent it to me by email,
I did, yeah.
and perhaps I haven't printed it out.
Somewhere. What did I do with that?
Well, don't worry. Why
Right.
don't you send it to me? I mean, what we can do now is
I'll send it again. Yeah.
yes, okay.
I'll
But
send.
just tell me your recollections. Who do you remember? Who stands out for you?
So Jones, I liked French teacher, Mr. Laidlaw. I liked. Well, there was no teacher that I didn't
Yes.
like. I
Yes.
don't think. And the ladies, I liked very much my form mistress, Miss Kay, who died unfortunately later in Africa. Did you know that?
No, no.
Oh,
What happened to
she
her?
left the school and went to Africa and died in her sleep one night. Or the whole school was upset about that.
Gosh. What did she teach?
English, I think.
English. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I like the biology teacher. Oh no, do you know, I'm stupid. I put that somewhere. I had a list of
Well,
teachers.
don't worry,
No,
because we can just talk about because you know, if we look at your exam results, you seem to have done quite a lot in terms of science. So was that your thing? Chemistry,
basically, yeah,
biology?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm, yeah.
yes, yeah. Miss Hinton was the biology miss. She was very good. Miss Hanson was zoology. Miss Mac was a very, very favourite of mine. Miss McIntosh.
She was still there when we were
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yes.
She must have been there a long time. Yeah.
Yes, she must
She
have been.
went away and came back, didn't she? I think.
Oh, did she?
I think
Okay.
she did. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. But
But
she
she
taught
was.
it.
I
She
always
taught
got on well
English.
with her. Sorry.
She taught English, didn't
She
she?
did indeed. Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about whether you ever got into trouble.
Not anything major. Oh, yeah, no, not that I can recall. The only real problem I had
Mhm.
once was the whole school did a cross country.
Yes.
Yeah, and I didn't do it,
Mm.
and I I took it on my own responsibility not to do it because I had stupidly put my foot under the hot tap, and the hot water had caused a huge
Oh,
blister
blister. Mm.
right across the top of my foot. So I knew
Yeah.
I couldn't
No,
run,
no,
but
no.
stupidly I hadn't sort of told anybody.
Oh dear.
So when I told the sports master, who said, "Why aren't you doing the school run?"
Yes.
And he insisted on taking me into the dressing room, the changing room, and having a look at it,
Mm.
to see that it was
It
really
was real.
bad enough not to.
Yes. Yes. So
And
that's the only time you got yourself into a bit of
I can't.
difficulty.
I've never had a
No,
detention.
no, no.
Uh,
Do you think detentions were given out quite regularly then?
there was always somebody being held in the evening, but
Really?
I can't really remember how many.
But do you think that the pupils were really quite well behaved then, mostly?
Mostly, I
Yeah.
mean, the other punishment was that was have a spell on the roller to roll the cricket pitch or something like that.
Oh, really? That's a very good one, isn't it?
In
That's
summer.
very inventive and very useful.
Yeah. But apart from that, I can't remember anything
No,
really. I
no,
can't really recall any big,
no,
big bad behaviour or anything
no.
like that. I remember one thing I was during the annual school concert. Somebody
Mm.
filled a balloon with hydrogen or gas
Yes.
and let it off, so it went up to the ceiling, which caused quite a
A
quite a
stir.
rumpus. But I can't recall the only other thing was I recalled this the other day.
Yes,
When George VI died, of course,
yes.
the whole school went down to hear the declaration and whatnot.
Mm,
And when it came to the declaration and the national anthem,
mm,
most of the boys
mm.
didn't take their caps off.
Where did you go
To
to
the town hall in Godalming, to the
did
top
you?
of the pepper pot. Yeah.
Yes, yes, gosh.
And so somebody came up to me,
Yes,
presumably realised that I was head boy, and told me
yes.
off that the boys had not taken their
Oh,
caps off.
goodness. Oh. Do you think
Well,
they
I
were
thought,
do you think they were being rebellious or they just didn't know?
no, I just weren't aware. I don't think.
No.
No.
Mm, mm. Oh, that's very
I mean,
interesting.
how many occasions would they have had to take their caps off?
Yes, absolutely. yeah. Although, of course, in the past, you know, when you were traveling on public transport, you might have, you know, let someone go in front of you. You might have taken your cap off, I suppose, possibly. There might have been occasions, but you're right. It perhaps it wasn't as well understood in those days. And just to go back to public transport, did you ever, you know, did your role as head boy, were you concerned about, you know, pupils behaving well on public transport?
Not
What do you
really. I
remember
don't
about
think it
that?
came in my remit.
That didn't. Okay. Yeah. So it was much more about the school and what happened in the school that was part of your remit. And what about being responsible for the prefect system and prefects giving out you know, punishments, for example? Were you responsible for that?
Well, not hardly responsible, but yes, I was aware of it, of course. But I had a good team. I got on very well with the school prefects.
How many prefects were there?
Well, I think there must have been about 8, I think, boys and the same number of girls.
Yes. Yeah.
But June Ward, of course, you may have heard that name. I don't know, perhaps you haven't come across it. But June Ward, who was head girl with me, she had been at the same infant school, same junior school, same village. You know, her parents lived next to my wife's grandmother, sort of thing. So you know, we knew each other very well.
Very well, yeah.
But not in terms of boyfriend girlfriend.
No. Were there any boyfriend girlfriend relationships?
Not that I recall any real strong ones. No, not that people always went out together or anything like that. It was more a tendency the sixth formers went around in a group.
Yes.
I mean, we used to book a tennis court on Godalming Recreation Ground and have a tennis
match,
afternoon sort of thing. Yeah.
And sorry, go on.
And often we used to go down to, I don't know whether it says, there used to be Easton Farm Dairy drinks bar down there. We used to go down and have a cream soda or, you know, milk cake or something like that.
Were you allowed in pubs? Or were you too young?
Probably too young. I can't remember the first time I ever went into the pub, to be honest. No, we not in the sixth form. I don't think we did. No.
Yes, I remember in my day, in the sort of 60s and 70s, you could go into a pub with your parents, but you couldn't drink any alcohol. But you could at least, or in fact, I think you had to be a certain age before you could go in. I think you could sit outside.
Yeah,
there was an inside-outside rule as well.
And that recalls something. I think the first actual drink in a pub I ever had was that after the Christmas morning service at church, the choir master used to take all the men in the choir to have a drink in the pub. And when I became a tenor rather than a treble, I was included in that, and I think that was probably the first time I ever went into a pub.
So how old would you have been?
About 14, 15, something like that.
And did he buy you an alcoholic drink?
Yeah, I think so. First time I ever had a brown ale on it.
Gosh, yes.
I think that's the first time I ever really remember it.
So just to go back to school days, tell me a bit more about the you know, the music activities and the concerts. Were you involved in those?
Oh God, yeah, I was the principal tenor in all the things of the shows that they did. I was in the school choir when I was a treble, and then when my voice changed, I became a tenor. Yeah, I was involved in almost everything apart from the the period when my voice was changing.
Breaking. Yes. And what kind of things were you singing?
Oh, a mixture. I mean, I did the Messiah solos when we did the Messiah. I did
Yes.
the school choir, did the performance in Godalming Church, and I did the tenor solos in that. I was the principal in 2 or 3 school operas, and I sang with John Noble. You probably heard that name.
No.
Oh, he became a very well-known singer.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you were
Sorry, yeah, but
well,
I actually went back after school and helped them out with some shows when they didn't have anybody good enough to do the principal parts in the opera. They did. I think I did 3 shows after I left school with them. Yeah.
I suppose what I was going to ask you was, what were those shows? What were they?
Well, the first one I ever remember was Trial by Jury. That was the first musical show that I remember doing. My wife Doreen, that was the first principal part that she ever did as well. But I wasn't in that one.
Okay. And who put that on? Which teacher put that on?
That must have been Dr. Hunt, basically, yeah, and with help. Mr. Needham on there. I don't think Mr. Needham did that one, but he may well have done. Yeah. Then the next one was Pirates of Prince Anne's. Next one was Pinafore. The next one was Young of the Guard. The next one was Patience. The next one was Gondoliers. Yeah, I mean all of those, and then we also did just straight musical shows as well, of course.
And was this a highlight of your school days?
Oh, I certainly really enjoyed that. Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so was it something you continued after school?
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, Doreen and I were principals for Godalming Operatic Society.
Oh. And how long did
you until children came, then we had to give it up.
Oh, okay. So you did a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan.
Indeed, yeah.
Yes. And
we also did 1066 and all that.
Did you?
Yeah. And what else? There was another one. Also did a performance of Samson. I performed the tenor solo. I went back to school for that one to do tenor solo for Samson.
And were there booklets or brochures or programs produced for these shows?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Do you have any copies of them?
I did have. I can't remember where they are now. They're probably gone by now.
Oh, okay. Well, if you find any, let us know, because we could add them to the archive.
Yeah.
Because
you must have them, I think. I don't know.
We might already have some, but don't worry now, because
there might be one over there. Hang on. I'm tangled up with the electric cord.
Yes, well, don't fall over.
No, I won't do that.
Please don't fall over on camera. That would be a bad look.
I must have had all of them, but I think they. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I've got
Well, don't worry.
Andrew may have taken them back with him to New Zealand.
Yes.
He wanted to keep some archives, as it were.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, come on back.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm annoyed. I started a sort of dossier for you. I actually had a photograph of me in my school uniform, but God knows what happened to that. Never mind.
Well, if you find it, you can always photograph it for me. Maybe your son's taken it.
Sorry?
Perhaps your son has it.
I don't think it is. I saw it fairly recently.
Oh,
I've
did
got
you?
so much paperwork I'm having to throw away
I know.
in the event that I'm going to have to sell a house.
So what was I going to say? Yes. Shall we talk a little bit about, which we started talking about, the choral clerkship at Trinity College? You
Well,
said
can we forget about that? No.
oh,
Well, what happened was
what happened?
at 18, I left school.
Yes.
And we had to register for national service
Mm.
and have a medical,
Yes.
and they turned me down.
Oh.
They didn't want me in the army or national service. I was very short-sighted.
Oh, I see.
So I was booked to go to Trinity College 2 years later.
Mm.
So I had 2 years to fill in, as it were.
Yes.
So I started working for British drug houses in Godalming.
British
Drug houses in
drug
Godalming,
houses. What was that?
down by the station. Are they not still there? No,
I don't know. What were they?
British drug houses, a big drug firm, yeah, based in London.
Oh,
And I was on extracting drugs out of natural materials for
oh,
2 years. But the problem was that when I won the choral scholarship to Cambridge, nobody ever told me that I had to have a Latin qualification to go to Cambridge.
yes.
I was totally unaware of that, and
Yes.
once I'd won it, so that meant that I had to sit a Latin exam to pass, and I tried to do Latin with Mr. Johnson, sort of.
Yes, I remember Mr. Johnson. He was
Well, once
there
a
in our
week,
day.
but I went to pass what I
Yes.
hoped was the Cambridge previous examination, but I wasn't good enough, so I had to give it up.
So what did you do instead?
Went straight into work because Surrey had got fed up with me for some reason. So they took away my county major scholarship as well.
Dear. Oh dear. So did
Oh,
you not go to university?
no,
No? So you went to the University of Life instead?
yes, I went
Yeah.
straight into industry.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I see. Well, these things happen, don't they?
Well, they do indeed. I mean, I was totally
But your school,
destroyed at that time.
but I think your school was a bit at fault there because
Well, I think
they
that
should
now
have
as well.
known.
Yeah, I
They
think
should
so.
have known that.
They should have
They should have
known and
prepared
pushed me
you.
to do some Latin
They should
before.
have prepared you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I totally agree with that. Looking
Yes.
back, I don't think
Yes.
took.
I suppose there were not that many people, surely, that went from Godalming to Oxford and Cambridge. So they probably went
Quite
to
a few actually went to Cambridge. I think, yeah.
yes.
If you look back in some of the
Mm.
achievements at the end of the school
Yes.
magazine, yeah, there have been people there.
So
Yeah.
certainly not when I was there in the
No,
60s.
no.
No. And I remember when somebody, I think I must have been in the first year, so this would have been 65, 66.
Yeah.
And I remember we were given a day off because somebody had got into Oxford or Cambridge.
Really?
So in those days, it wasn't as common. So I suppose I'm just trying to excuse the school by saying perhaps they didn't realize what the, qualifications you had to have were.
No, it came as a total surprise to me when somebody said, you've got to have Latin to go to Cambridge. I think that was Mr. May who said it, not
Was
in
it?
not in an unkindly
No,
way, but
no.
as a factual way. You've
Yes.
got to have Latin to go to Cambridge, and that came out of the blue, as it were. Which to be honest, well, we'll go on to something else in a minute, but up to then, I really had no difficulty in passing exams, as it were. And I thought, oh well, I'll just mug up a bit and sit the exam and pass it. When
Yes.
it didn't work out that way.
Had you done Latin though earlier on?
Old school, yeah.
Yes.
But not at a high enough level to qualify to go.
No, I see. But it seems pretty ridiculous that you needed Latin when you were going in for a science degree.
Well, look, everybody did Latin at one stage. Well, as far as I know,
Yes.
in the earlier forms.
Well, of
I would
course.
have thought up to. I can't remember whether we took Latin up to school certificate level
Did
or
you?
not. I can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember.
It
I
was
haven't got the thing here to be able to look it up.
it was still on offer to us. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I had Latin with Mr. Johnson. I dropped it as soon as I could, because I really wanted to learn German.
Really,
Never quite achieved it.
but
So
the other thing
yes,
is, we
sorry, go
haven't
on.
mentioned this, but
Yes.
Doreen, you see, was who I'd known at school. In fact, you probably don't know, but Doreen, how can I put it? She was in the same village as me, but we weren't close together when
No.
we were younger.
Yeah.
But her uncle was my godfather in actual fact. So we knew each other, pretty well in the circle. But she, when she went away to college, she got engaged to my best mate.
Oh, was that the one that could have been the head boy?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the situation. He went into the army. I was still working in British
Yes.
Services,
Yes.
and then when Doreen did her teacher training and came back, and we sang opposite each other in principal parts in Godalming
Yes.
Operatic Society. When
Yes.
she was still engaged to David, bang, that was it.
Oh dear. Were you still friends afterwards?
Well, yes, yes, we were to a certain extent. She broke it off with him, but we played cricket and tennis together afterwards. Yeah, but it was all not the same as when we were youngsters.
No. But did he find someone to marry
Yes,
afterwards?
he did. Yeah, he married the principal soprano of Hazelmere Operatic Society. And yeah, we remained quite close. We sent Christmas cards and all that.
Yeah.
They had two daughters,
Yes.
but they got divorced eventually.
So what I wanted to, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about, I've come to almost the end of my questions. Is there anything else any memories you'd like to share before we have our last question?
I'm just trying to think, really. No, I mean, it was, as I recall, a very happy period of my life. Everything was going pretty well, successful, I represented Surrey in the 100 yards in the National Athletic Championships. But I didn't do it. I had a terrible start. I won a lot of races running the 100 yards, but for some reason or other, I had a terrible start there, and that was it. The first race I'd gone, which disappointed me. But apart from that, no.
Do you want to talk any more about your musical career? Did you something I wanted to ask you was, could you read music, and how did you learn about that?
Well, I just learned to read music by using it all the time, by singing it all the time.
Did you play an instrument though?
The piano a little bit, but I dropped that because I didn't like the piano teacher very much, and that's possibly one big regret of my life. When we had kids, when they got to being 5, 6, 7, we bought a piano for them, but neither of them took to
No,
the piano.
no.
But actually, it's sitting downstairs now, and I sometimes think, Wally, why didn't you make more effort than to learn the piano? And I could have done it
Yes,
myself, I suppose. To a certain
yes.
extent.
But
But
you could read music enough to sing.
oh yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
But then, of course, we once we gave up the Godalming Operatic Society when the kids were born,
Mm.
we didn't think it was fair that one or other of us should go, you know.
I
Uh,
see. Yeah.
so, but we were still singing in various choirs,
Mm.
but not big performances as it were.
No,
But
no.
then when we moved out to France, we had a
Yes.
second piece of life.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
Yes.
God, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
we joined a couple of choirs here,
Mm.
and I was welcomed with open arms initially because
Oh,
it
I'm
was
sure.
a
Yes.
tenor of my sort of quality.
Yes. Yeah.
And I actually passed an exam, an audition for the BBC choir,
Did
but
you?
unfortunately, soon after I'd passed it, my
Mm.
firm decided to move out of London into. I was going up to London every day,
Yes.
not
Yes.
British drug houses. That was my second job, as it were, uh,
Mm.
and, uh, and they moved out of town into Bracknell Newtown. So I had to give up the
Mm.
membership of the BBC choir. But when we came here, we
Mm.
did classical concerts. We did shows based on
Mm.
Gershwin, Lerner and Lowe, and people like that.
Was that one reason why you chose this particular part of France because of
So
the
we
no,
weren't
it was
aware of it.
just
Well, the reason what happened when the I'm going on a bit. Is this all
that's all right. It's
interesting to you?
fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Well, Dorian taught for 30 odd years.
Yes.
She became head deputy head at Shottermill Middle School,
Mm.
but she had enough of teaching. She looked around for
Mm.
um, a job, you know, to keep her
Mm.
interested and a bit of money. But she didn't find anything in England, so eventually she took a job as a representative in France, so the people who rent out tents and mobile homes on French campsites.
Oh,
And for 3 years, I think it was, she spent the summers
yeah.
here in France and
God,
left me alone in England. Yeah.
yes. Ah,
Which I came down about 3 or 4 times
mm.
during the
Mm.
summer,
Yes.
and at least I could play cricket on Saturday and Sunday without any
Yeah.
argument. But it wasn't the best arrangement, and
No.
our marriage was under a bit of strain, then I would
Yes.
say.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
in the end, after we'd had a discussion, we decided that we would sell our bungalow in Whitley. Do you know Whitley? Do you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not very
Yeah.
well, but I know.
No, but I mean, we'd had it for 20 odd years.
Yes.
It increased enormously in
Mm.
value.
What
For
sort of date are we talking about?
we're talking about 1986, 7.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, we sold it for a very good price, and for what we bought, the money we got for that, we bought a holiday complex with 3 houses on
Gosh.
it in France,
Yes.
and we did lettings cheats for
Yes.
13 years, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
until we sold it, yeah,
Mm. So you've lived in France for a long time.
30 or
Mm.
35 years,
That's about the same time my sister-in-law has lived in France
yeah,
as well. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Um, well, I think we should finish, but my last question for you is what
I
do you
never touched her.
no, no, no. What do you think was important for you about attending Godalming Grammar School? What
Gave
was
me a lot of. I would have said it gave me a lot of stability to be quite honest.
yes, yes,
Confidence in myself,
yes.
and things like
Mm.
and opened a lot of doors as far as
Mm.
shows and music
Yes,
and things like that.
yes.
Yeah.
Things remained important to you and that you
Oh, yeah.
enjoyed for the rest of your life.
Basically, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Wally. It's been
You've
a
not
pleasure.
seen the dossier that I just sent to the school.
Sorry.
I did a little dossier of our lives at school, Dorian and my lives at school, and our lives here in France.
Oh, no, I haven't
Yes.
hadn't seen that. Where did you send it?
Well, it was circulating at the OG meetings, I think.
Was it? Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I've got a copy if you would like to see it.
Yes, I would like to see it. Yes.
It brings you up to date with because well, we've had a super life here, basically. Yeah. Have you seen photographs of Doreen? I presume.
No, I haven't. No.